This is
Excuse me, what are you
unacceptable.
doing here?
I want my
The
money
welfare
now.
office is 3 blocks
You
down.
have
You
no
have no
right
right
to
to
withhold
withhold
these
Mitchell's
funds from
voice
me.
sliced through First National Bank's marble lobby like a knife. He looked up from his teller station with practiced disdain as the black woman in the designer suit approached his counter. Keisha Thompson's breath caught. The lunch crowd turned to stare. Brad's smirk widened as he enjoyed the attention, his voice deliberately loud enough for everyone to hear. This is a private banking institution, not a check-cashing service. He continued, his eyes scanning her dismissively. You people always come in here trying to cash fake checks or pull some kind of scam. He pointed toward the door like she was a stray dog. ATM's outside if you have an EBT card. The lobby fell silent, except for the soft clicks of phone cameras starting to record. Have you ever been treated like your money isn't good enough, simply because of how you look? The digital clock above the teller stations, 12:30 p.m., a brass placard near the entrance announced. Executive Committee meeting, 1:15 p.m. The branch closes for lunch at 1. By 2 p.m. Maya Patel, a freelance journalist in line behind Keisha, discreetly angled her phone to capture the unfolding scene. Her Instagram Live notification appeared. Banking discrimination happening now at First National downtown. Keisha placed her withdrawal slip on the counter with deliberate calm. I'd like to withdraw $25,000 from my account, please. Brad's laughter was sharp and mocking. 25,000, lady. That's more money than most people see in a year. What kind of game are you trying to run here? He snatched the withdrawal slip without looking at it, crumpling it slightly in his hands. Let me guess you're going to tell me. You're some kind of business owner or executive, right? That's what they all say. The morning rush crowd had thinned, but those remaining were captivated by the escalating confrontation. A well-dressed white woman whispered to her companion, "Someone should call security." An elderly black man shook his head in disgust, but said nothing. Susan Martinez, the branch supervisor, approached from her glass office. Her heels clicked authoritatively against the polished floor as she assessed the situation with the practiced eye of someone who'd handled problems before. What seems to be the issue, Brad? Susan asked, though her body language already aligned with her subordinate. This person is trying to make a suspicious withdrawal, Brad explained, his voice carrying the weight of institutional authority. $25,000 claims she has an account here. Susan's eyebrows rose dramatically. That does sound unusual, ma'am. Do you have proper identification and will need employment verification for any large withdrawals? Keisha reached into her purse, retrieving her driver's license and a platinum banking card that caught the overhead lighting. The card bore the distinctive First National logo, alongside her name in embossed lettering. Brad barely glanced at the documents. Anyone can get fake IDs these days. The sophisticated ones even have the right logos. He held up the platinum card like evidence in a trial. These counterfeits are getting better every month. Maya's live stream viewer count climbed steadily, 847 viewers, then some 200 comments began flooding in. This is disgusting, call the news. Where is this bank? She kept her phone steady, capturing every word, every dismissive gesture. I've been banking here for 6 years, Keisha said, her voice maintaining its professional composure. Despite the mounting humiliation, my account number is visible on both the card and my identification. Susan stepped closer, creating a united front with Brad. Ma'am, we have strict protocols for high-dollar transactions, especially from certain account types. These procedures exist to protect both the bank and our customers from fraudulent activity. The phrase certain account types hung in the air like a poison cloud. Maya's phone captured the moment perfectly. Susan's knowing glance at Brad, the way they positioned themselves to intimidate Keisha, the casual cruelty of institutional bias. A security guard emerged from the back offices. Jerome Washington, a 10-year veteran, whose uncomfortable expression revealed his recognition of the situation's true nature. His presence was clearly meant to intimidate, but his reluctance was visible to anyone paying attention. Jerome, we may need assistance with this situation, Susan announced loudly enough for the entire lobby to hear. Potential fraud case. Keisha's phone buzzed against her leg. Federal Reserve conference call, 2 p.m. She silenced it without looking. But the motion wasn't lost on the growing audience of customers and employees watching the drama unfold. "Look, lady," Brad said, leaning back in his chair with theatrical exhaustion. "I deal with this stuff every day. People come in here with sob stories, fake documents trying to charm their way into quick cash. It's not going to work." He gestured broadly at the marble columns and crystal chandeliers. "This is First National Bank, not some corner check cashing place. We serve serious clients with serious money." A businessman in line behind Maya muttered, "Just give her the money if she has proper ID," but another customer, a middle-aged white woman, nodded approvingly at Brad's vigilance. "We're going to need to verify your employment status." Susan continued, pulling out a thick folder of forms. "Income verification, source of funds, documentation, and a detailed explanation of what you plan to do with this money." Keisha's leather portfolio rested on the counter, but she hadn't opened it yet. Inside board meeting documents waited, alongside contracts that could reshape the entire banking industry. But these people saw only skin color, making assumptions based on nothing but prejudice. "The system shows some irregularities with this account." Brad lied smoothly, pretending to study his computer screen. "Multiple red flags that require additional verification procedures." Maya's live stream hit 1,847 viewers. The hashtag had banking while black, was gaining momentum organically across social platforms. Screenshots of Brad's dismissive expressions were already being shared on Twitter and Instagram. "Executive meeting in 45 minutes, announced the overhead speaker. "All department heads report to the conference room by 1:10 p.m. The countdown added urgency to an already tense situation. Susan checked her watch nervously. She needed to prepare for the meeting, but this incident required her attention. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside while we process this verification," Susan said, gesturing toward a small waiting area near the security desk. "This could take some time." The suggestion was designed to humiliate further, forcing Keisha to wait like a suspect, while real customers conducted their business. Jerome shifted uncomfortably, recognizing the psychological manipulation, but bound by his employment to follow Susan's lead. Maya's phone showed 2,100 viewers now, with comments pouring in from people who recognized the systematic nature of what they were witnessing. The story was spreading beyond the bank's marble walls, building momentum that would soon become unstoppable. But none of them knew what was coming next. Executive meeting in 30 minutes. All managers do conference room preparation. The announcement crackled through First National sound system. As the lunch crowd began to thin, Maya's live stream had reached 3,400 viewers, with major news outlets beginning to take notice of the unfolding drama. Regional Manager David Chen burst through the executive elevator doors, his expensive suit and hurried pace immediately commanding attention. Someone had called him about a situation requiring immediate damage control. "What's the problem here?" David demanded, his voice carrying 20 years of corporate authority. He scanned the scene quickly. Black woman at counter, crowd of onlookers, phones recording everything. Susan rushed to brief him, speaking in hushed tones designed to exclude Keisha from the conversation. "Potential fraud case, sir. Large withdrawal request with suspicious documentation." Brad identified multiple red flags in the system. David nodded gravely, his expression shifting into crisis management mode. He'd handled situations like this before, or at least situations he assumed were like this. "Ma'am, I'm David Chen, Regional Manager for First National," he announced formally. "I understand. There's been some confusion about account verification procedures." Keisha remained composed, but Maya's camera caught the slight tightening around her eyes. "There's no confusion, Mr. Chen. I'm simply trying to withdraw money from my own account. These elaborate schemes are becoming increasingly common." David continued loud enough for the growing crowd to hear. "Identity theft, document forgery. Social engineering criminals are getting very sophisticated." Jerome Washington stood nearby, his security uniform making him complicit in what was clearly becoming a racially motivated interrogation. His discomfort was visible to anyone watching, but his job required following management directives. "Sir, perhaps we should move this discussion to a private office," Jerome suggested quietly, trying to reduce the public spectacle. "No, Officer Washington," David replied firmly. "Transparency is important in fraud investigations. Other customers should see how seriously we take security." Maya's live stream comments exploded with outrage. "This is discrimination, sue them." Someone call the NAACP. Her viewer count hit 5,200, with shares multiplying across every social platform. A well-dressed elderly woman approached the counter, clearly frustrated by the delay. "Excuse me, I need to make a deposit before you close for lunch." "Ma'am, we're dealing with a security situation," Brad explained importantly. "This woman is trying to withdraw a very large sum with questionable documentation." The elderly customer looked at Keisha with obvious suspicion. "Well, I suppose you have to be careful these days. All sorts of people are trying to take advantage." But another voice cut through the tension. A young black professional who'd been watching from the loan officer area. "This is ridiculous. She has a proper ID and a bank card." "What more do you need, sir?" "Please don't interfere with bank security procedures. Susan warned we have protocols for a reason." The lobby was divided into camps. Some customers supported the bank's vigilance, while others recognized the obvious discrimination. Maya's phone captured every reaction, every comment, every moment of institutional bias playing out in real time. "I'm going to need additional documentation," David announced, pulling out a thick packet of forms: employment verification tax returns, proof of income source, and a detailed affidavit explaining the purpose of this withdrawal. Keisha's phone buzzed insistently. Text messages from her assistant board members, asking about the Federal Reserve call. Another from her lawyer saw the live stream. "Want me to intervene?" She ignored them all, maintaining her dignified composure despite the mounting humiliation. "This is standard procedure for large withdrawals," David continued, though everyone knew it wasn't. "We're protecting both the bank and the legitimate account holder from potential fraud." Executive meeting in 20 minutes came another announcement. Final preparation phase. The time pressure was building. Susan kept checking her watch. She needed to finalize reports for the board meeting, but this situation was spiraling beyond her control. "Ma'am, we're also going to need to contact your employer to verify your identity," David added. "What company do you work for?" The question was loaded with assumptions. In David's mind, this woman was probably unemployed or working minimum wage jobs. The idea that she might be legitimately wealthy never crossed his consciousness. "I'm self-employed," Keisha replied calmly. Brad snorted with derision. "Self-employed, right? Let me guess. You're a consultant or entrepreneur with no real income verification." Maya's livestream audience had grown to 7,800 viewers. Major news organizations were embedding the feed on their websites. The hashtag First National Discrimination was trending nationally, with thousands of people sharing stories of similar treatment. Jerome approached Keisha with obvious reluctance. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to provide additional identification. Driver's license, social security card, and any employment documentation you might have." His tone was apologetic, but his position forced compliance with discriminatory policies. Keisha handed over her documents without protest, recognizing that resistance would only escalate the situation. "Jerome, run these through the fraud detection system," David instructed. "Check for any red flags or suspicious patterns." The fraud detection system was really just David's way of stalling. While he figured out how to handle the growing crowd of witnesses and recording devices, a group of young professionals entered the bank, immediately drawn to the commotion. One of them, a black woman in her 30s, recognized what was happening and started her own recording. "Are you seriously harassing this woman over a withdrawal?" she challenged. "This is 2024. Not 1964. "Ma'am, please don't interfere with bank security procedures," Susan replied tersely. We have the right to verify large transactions. Show me the policy that requires this level of verification, the woman demanded. I've made larger withdrawals without any problems. Susan's face flushed with anger. Our policies apply equally to all customers. This has nothing to do with personal characteristics. But everyone could see through the lie. The contrast was obvious. Other customers conducting transactions without harassment, while Keisha faced an inquisition for doing exactly the same thing. Maya's phone battery was dropping, but backup streams had started on multiple platforms. The story was beyond containment, now spreading through news networks, social media, and civil rights organizations. Executive meeting in 15 minutes. All departments head to the conference room immediately. David's radio crackled with an urgent message. Mr. Chen, Corporate Security. Needs to speak with you about the live stream situation. The corporate office had noticed lawyers were probably being called. Crisis management protocols were activated, but it was too late to contain the damage. Ma'am, we're going to need you to wait while we complete our verification process. David announced this could take several hours. The threat was clear. Submit to humiliation or be denied basic banking services. But Keisha's calm expression never wavered. Even as the institutional weight of discrimination pressed down around her, Jerome looked away. Unable to meet her eyes, he knew this was wrong. But his mortgage payments depended on following orders. Maya's live stream hit 12,400 viewers. Comments poured in from civil rights lawyers, financial industry insiders, and journalists, recognizing the significance of what they were witnessing. The stage was set for something that would change everything. But none of them suspected what was about to happen. Executive meeting in 10 minutes. All managers report immediately. The overhead announcement seemed to trigger something in Keisha Thompson. She slowly opened her leather portfolio for the first time, her movements deliberate and controlled. The crowd of onlookers leaned forward, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. Maya's live stream had reached 15,600 viewers, with notifications flooding her phone as major news outlets began covering the story in real time. Comments streamed past faster than human eyes could read. Something's about to happen. She's too calm. This woman knows something. Keisha withdrew a single business card, its embossed lettering catching the marble lobby's crystal chandelier light. She placed it gently on the counter in front of Brad Mitchell, who glanced at it dismissively. Keisha Thompson, President and CEO, Thompson Financial Group. Brad read aloud, his voice dripping with skepticism. Another fake business card. They're making these things in China now for $5 each. But David Chen stepped closer, squinting at the card with growing unease. Something about the quality, the specific font. The paperweight was triggering corporate memory. The name Thompson Financial Group was stirring recognition. Somewhere in his executive briefings, Thompson Financial Group, David repeated slowly, the name working its way through his consciousness like a virus spreading through a computer system. Keisha handed him a second card. This one bore the First National Bank logo alongside legal text, in small print, Board of Directors Preferred Shareholder Series of Voting Rights. The color drained from David's face like water from a broken dam. His hands trembled as he held the card, reading and rereading the text as if it might change before his eyes. You're on the board. David stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't just sit on the board, Mr. Chen, Keisha replied, her tone carrying a new quality that made everyone in the lobby lean forward. Thompson Financial Group owns 31% of First National Corporation. We're the largest single shareholder. The words hit the assembled crowd like a physical force. Brad's mouth fell open, the business card slipping from his fingers. Susan Martinez backed away from the counter, as if it had suddenly caught fire. Maya's live stream exploded. The viewer count jumped from 15,600 to 28,400 in 30 seconds. Comments flooded the screen. Oh my God, she owns the bank. Plot twist. This is insane. News organizations worldwide were embedding the feed into their breaking news coverage. Jerome Washington shook his head slowly, recognition dawning in his eyes. He'd seen Thompson's photo in corporate newsletters, annual reports, board meeting announcements. The woman they'd been harassing for 40 minutes was literally their boss's boss. Thompson Financial Group, Keisha continued, opening her portfolio to reveal documents that made Brad's eyes widen. Further acquired our controlling interest 8 months ago. Today's executive meeting. She gestured toward the conference room where managers were gathering. That's my quarterly board review. The lobby fell into stunned silence. Customers who'd been watching the discrimination now found themselves witnessing corporate history. Maya's phone captured every facial expression, every moment of realization, every second of the most expensive customer service failure in banking history. The quarterly meeting agenda includes customer experience assessment, Keisha explained, pulling out a thick folder marked Confidential Board Review. I've been conducting anonymous visits to all First National branches. As an ordinary customer, she looked directly at Brad, who seemed to be having trouble breathing. Today's interaction was specifically designed to test frontline customer service protocols. You provided exceptional data for our discrimination analysis. The elderly couple near the loan department exchanged horrified glances. The businessman who'd earlier supported Brad's vigilance was frantically deleting his social media posts. Even the security cameras seemed to be staring down at them, with mechanical judgment. David Chen fumbled for his radio. All managers went to the conference room immediately. Code red emergency, this is not a drill. But the damage was already done. Maya's live stream had become a viral sensation, with major news outlets embedding the feed directly into their websites. The hashtag bank owner discrimination was trending globally. Bank President Robert Sterling's assistant appeared at the elevator doors, her face pale with panic. She'd been monitoring social media and recognized the catastrophic scope of what was unfolding. The Federal Banking Commission received notification of this incident. 12 minutes ago, Keisha continued consulting her phone. Our compliance department has standing orders to report all discrimination events in real time. She showed her screen displaying official government contact numbers. Senator Elizabeth Warren's office is currently monitoring Maya's live stream. The House Financial Services Committee has been notified. Brad Mitchell's face went ashen. He'd never considered that his actions could attract congressional attention or federal investigation. His training had focused on security procedures, not the legal consequences of systematic bias misses. Thompson David began his corporate training, warring with the magnitude of his mistake. I deeply apologize for this misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding, Mr. Chen, Keisha interrupted, her executive presence now unmistakable. This was systematic discrimination, captured on multiple recording devices. What you're witnessing is exactly why Thompson Financial Group requires comprehensive bias training for all portfolio companies. She retrieved another document from her briefcase. Federal Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Violations carry penalties of up to $500,000 per incident. The Community Reinvestment Act requires banks to serve all customers equally, regardless of race. The legal references weren't empty threats. Keisha's background as a corporate attorney before founding Thompson Financial Group meant she understood banking law better than most regulators. Our legal department specializes in federal banking compliance. Keisha continued pulling out her phone to show a contact list that included former Treasury Department officials, federal judges, and congressional staff members. 23 attorneys are currently analyzing Maya's live stream for potential violations. Maya's viewer count had reached 38,000, with backup streams running across multiple platforms. The story was being covered by CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and international outlets. Banking industry publications were scrambling to understand the implications. Brad Mitchell finally found his voice, though it cracked with desperation. Miss Thompson, I was just following security protocols. I didn't know this has all been a terrible mistake. Show me the security protocol that authorizes racial profiling. Keisha challenged point to the training manual that says, Black customers should be assumed fraudulent until proven otherwise. The challenge hung unanswered. Brad's mouth opened and closed without sound. His 12 years of banking experience, suddenly worthless against this level of corporate accountability. Susan Martinez attempted damage control. "Ma'am, surely we can resolve this internally through proper channels." "This matter became external 40 minutes ago when you threatened to call federal authorities on a bank shareholder," Keisha replied. "Maya's live stream has documented everything for Regulatory Review Day." She opened another app on her phone, showing real-time stock market data. First National Corporation shares have dropped 4.2% in after-hours trading. That represents approximately $340 million in lost market capitalization. The numbers were staggering and immediate. Social media sentiment analysis showed 89% negative responses to hashtag First National hashtags. Corporate crisis management protocols were activating across the banking industry. Thomson Financial Group's investment philosophy prioritizes environmental, social, and governance compliance. Keisha explained today's incident represents a material breach of our partnership agreement with First National Corporation. She consulted another document marked Confidential Divestiture Protocols. Our board has pre-approved immediate asset liquidation if discrimination patterns are documented. This live stream provides that documentation. A murmur rippled through the lobby as customers began recognizing the magnitude of what they were witnessing. The elderly woman who'd earlier supported the bank's vigilance now looked mortified. The young professionals who'd defended Keisha were recording everything, sensing historical significance. Jerome Washington approached carefully, his security training warring with his recognition of the situation's complete reversal. "Ms. Thompson, I want to apologize for my role in this situation. I should have recognized Officer Washington. You were placed in an impossible position." Keisha interrupted. "Your supervisors created this situation, not you. Your discomfort was actually professional integrity, and that will be noted in our report." The relief on Jerome's face was visible to Maya's camera. Unlike the management staff, he'd been caught between competing loyalties, rather than creating the discriminatory policies himself. Stock market trading algorithms have already identified this incident. Keisha observed, checking her financial apps. Institutional investors are receiving automated alerts about potential ESG violations. At First National Corporation, she showed her phone displaying contact notifications from BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, massive investment firms that manage trillions in assets. They're all monitoring tonight's response as a test case for corporate accountability. Bank President Robert Sterling burst through the elevator doors. His usually perfect hair, disheveled from running through corporate headquarters. His assistant had briefed him during the elevator ride, but seeing the situation firsthand still left him speechless. Miss Thompson Sterling began bypassing all subordinates. "I want to personally assure you that this incident does not represent First National's values. Mr. Sterling, this incident represents exactly what Thomson Financial Group has been documenting across our portfolio," Keisha replied. "Systematic bias in customer service, inadequate training protocols, and management that enables discrimination rather than preventing it." She pulled out the final document from her portfolio, a comprehensive audit report that made Sterling's eyes widen. "Our quarterly assessment identified 47 discrimination complaints across First National branches. In the past 6 months, 78% involved customers of color." The data was irrefutable. Corporate lawyers would spend months trying to mitigate the legal exposure, but the evidence was already public through Maya's documentation. Maya's live stream had reached 45,000 viewers, with clips spreading across every social media platform. The story was already being covered by international news outlets, making this a global public relations crisis for the banking industry. Customers throughout the lobby began applauding spontaneously. The sound built from scattered claps to thunderous ovations, as ordinary people celebrated extraordinary accountability. Keisha stood slowly, her bearing completely transformed from victim to executive authority. "Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our customer service assessment. Mr. Sterling, shall we discuss the immediate changes your institution will implement? Brad Mitchell, Susan Martinez, and David Chen stood frozen like exhibits in a museum. Corporate discrimination in the digital age. Their careers had just ended, but the broader implications were only beginning. Robert Sterling stepped into the marble lobby, like a general surveying a battlefield after devastating defeat. His 28 years in banking had prepared him for many crises, but not this complete collapse of institutional authority. "Miss Thompson," he began, his voice carefully measured despite the chaos surrounding them. "I want to personally address this unprecedented situation." Keisha remained positioned at the teller counter, her briefcase now open like a command center, displaying the financial weapons that could destroy Sterling's career. Documents marked confidential, board review, and divestiture protocols spread across the marble surface. "Mr. Sterling, unprecedented situations require unprecedented solutions." Keisha replied, her tone carrying the authority of someone who just revealed ownership of the battlefield. "Let's discuss the metrics that brought us to this moment." She lifted her tablet, displaying real-time analytics that made Sterling's face tighten with recognition. Thompson Financial Group tracks customer satisfaction across all portfolio companies. First National Corporation currently ranks 68% in service quality. The lowest in our financial services division. Maya's live stream had reached 52,000 viewers, with major news networks providing split-screen coverage. The banking industry was watching their largest discrimination incident unfold. In real time, our comprehensive audit data shows troubling patterns. Keisha continued, consulting a thick folder that Sterling recognized from board meeting materials. 47 formal discrimination complaints filed against First National branches in the past 6 months alone. She handed him a detailed breakdown that made his hands tremble. 78% of these complaints involved customers of color. 63% occurred at branches where management demonstrated similar bias patterns to what we witnessed today. Brad Mitchell stood frozen near his teller station, understanding that his career was collapse.